I was hired as a translator, but my CEO hired me to be hers.
The contract was already bleeding. I saw it in the third paragraph, buried under 6 layers of diplomatic language and a subordinate clause that had absolutely no business being there. My pen hovered over the margin. My hand did not shake. Hands do not shake when they have spent 11 years learning to hold still in rooms where shaking costs lives. The boardroom was on the 42nd floor of the Meridian Tower, and the morning was doing that particular thing late October mornings do. Gray and flat and vast outside, but inside? Inside was color. Floor-to-ceiling glass on 3 sides, a long table of pale ash wood that gleamed honeygold in the sun, 12 cats in charcoal suits arranged like chess pieces on one side of it, all big breeds, Maine Coons and Burmans with their tails perfectly curled around their chairs. And on the other side, her. I had been watching her for 4 minutes without meaning to. Yan Seiwa, Chief Executive Officer, Seiwa Capital Partners, 34 years old, according to the briefing packet I'd read on the subway at 6:15 that morning. The packet had said nothing about the way she held herself. Not rigid, not relaxed, something more precise than either. A stillness that had been built, not inherited. She was a humanoid cat, all sleek lines. A deep-water blue-black panther type, fur so dark it shone blue in the light. Her suit was the color of deep water too, tailored, perfect. Her ears didn't twitch once. One tail, long and ink-black, resting perfectly still behind her chair. When I'd stepped into the room 9 minutes ago, her scent had hit me like a door opening I hadn't known was closed. Dark green pine resin and cold rain on concrete, clean and sharp and alpha through and through. Apex. The kind of presence that rewrites the chemistry of a room just by existing in it. I was the hired interpreter standing at the edge of the table with a notepad I didn't need and a lanyard that said contractor in block letters, which is a polite way of saying invisible. I am Chii Su, 28 years old, small ginger tabby humanoid, the kind with paint splatter white socks and big amber eyes and ears that betray everything. My tail was doing its best to stay professional. My suppressant patches were the adequate kind, not the invisible kind, which means in high alpha environments I am always faintly aware of my own scent. Like hearing your own purr in a quiet room. The Russian delegation had brought their own translator, Dmitry Volkov. Thin, precise, silver at the temples, a neat Russian blue. He had been translating for 6 minutes and he had already lied twice. Not mistranslated. Lied. The first lie had been a softening. The phrase the delegation lead used, which in Russian carried the specific weight of "we retain the right to nullify," came out in Volkov's Korean as "we reserve the right to review." Close enough that no one would catch it without 11 years of bilateral contract interpretation and a particular kind of stubbornness my grandmother used to call pathological. The second lie was structural. A clause that created a penalty ceiling of 12% had been rendered as a penalty floor. The difference between a maximum liability and a minimum liability. The difference between a partnership and a trap. I was here as a redundancy hire. The company wanted a second interpreter as a precaution. Volkov continued. The delegation lead spoke again, and this time the lie was larger. The phrase that meant in the event of insolvency on the part of the primary investor had been translated simply as during the investment period. An eraser. I put down my pen. I said in Korean, clearly enough for the room but without raising my voice, "Miss Yan, I need to stop you." Every head in the room turned. Ears swiveled. 12 tails went still at once. Volkov stopped mid-sentence. Yan Seiwa looked at me. Not at the disruption, at me. Her eyes were dark gold and level, and the temperature in them was somewhere below the ambient air, and I had the distinct sensation of being measured. "Explain," she said. One word. The room obeyed it. I said, "Your translator has made 3 material errors in the last 8 minutes. The first inverted the liability direction of the penalty clause in Article 7. The second rendered a nullification right as a review right in the annex to Article 4. The third just now omitted the insolvency trigger in Article 11 entirely." Silence. Then Yan Seiwa said in that same register that had no peaks in it, Article 11. "Read it." Volkov said something in Russian, low and fast. I read Article 11 in Russian, then in Korean, then in English because 2 of the junior associates were visibly struggling. Thoroughness was the only protection available to someone in a room without allies. The room didn't so much erupt as tighten, the way a fist tightens. Yan Seiwa held up one hand. The room stopped. All those fluffy tails. Frozen. "Miss Kai," she said, and I did not understand how she had caught my name from the lanyard across the table, except that she was clearly the kind of cat who had already read the room before entering it. "Please wait outside. My legal team will join the delegation. You will be compensated for your time." Dismissed. Professionally, with precision. I picked up my notepad. I walked to the door. I heard her say in Russian, clear, fluent, cold as the bottom of a river, "I have been patient. I am less patient now. We will begin again." I stopped walking. I had not known she spoke Russian. She had let Volkov translate for 45 minutes knowing he was lying. I turned around, which was against every professional instinct I owned. She was already looking at me, that black tail giving one slow, deliberate flick against her wrist. That private motion. I didn't think she knew she was doing it. The waiting room was on the 39th floor, and it was nothing like the boardroom. It was bright. Sunflower yellow chairs, a coral pink rug, a wall of plants spilling green everywhere, late morning light turning everything soft and warm like a Polaroid. I spent 26 of my 30 minutes trying not to think about pine resin and cold rain. She arrived at minute 27. She had lost the jacket. The shirt beneath it was pale gray, sleeves rolled to the elbows, showing sleek forearms dusted with dark fur. She was carrying a single printed document. "How long have you been interpreting?" she asked. 4 years professionally, 11 total. "What's the distinction?" "The first 7 years I interpreted for my grandfather. He came from Busan. His Russian was archaic, pre-war idiom. He had a business partner in Vladivostok. He taught me to read contracts before he taught me to read novels." Something crossed her face. Not a smile. The shape a face makes when it is declining to show a smile. Her ears tipped forward just a fraction. She set the document on the table between us. My name was in it. Contractor Services Agreement. The rate was 3 times what I had quoted. I have 11 international contracts currently in active negotiation, 4 of which involve delegations that have previously used Volkov's firm. I need someone who will not let me be robbed in the room. I looked at her. In this smaller, brighter room, with the yellow chairs and the pink rug, she was somehow even more striking. All midnight blue and sharp edges, and I was all orange marmalade and white socks trying to be taken seriously. "This is a 6-month contract," I said. "Yes. Exclusive for the contracts listed in Appendix A. I'd want a termination clause with 30 days' notice from either party." "It's already in there. Page 4, paragraph 3. I read page 4, paragraph 3. She had anticipated the ask. "You planned for this," I said. "I planned for most things. What didn't you plan for?" She was quiet for 4 seconds. Her tail curled once around the leg of her chair. She said. "You moved faster than I expected." 3 weeks later, I was in Almaty in a conference room made of bad fluorescent lighting and competitive anxiety. The contract was genuinely complex, a joint infrastructure development. We were in hour 3 when Yan Seiwa passed me a note on paper, handwritten in Russian. It said, "The third-party audit clause. Read how they've defined independent." I read it. I followed the cross-reference chain through 2 annexes and a schedule. Independent audit firm resolved to a firm that was structurally affiliated with Tamir Group through a holding company 2 layers up. Not illegal. Possibly not intentional. But consequential. I wrote back in Russian. Possible accidental loop or deliberate insulation. Check incorporation date of the audit firm versus parent structure. She handed me back the paper. She had written 1 word. Already did. The incorporation date of the affiliate was 8 months after the parent holding structure was established. Built in, not inherited. On the flight back to Seoul, she slept 2 rows ahead of me in business class. Her black ears twitched once in her sleep. I watched the dark through the window and thought about the fact that she had said you in a waiting room 3 weeks ago in a way that meant something I couldn't exactly interpret. She woke up 40 minutes before landing. She walked past my row toward the galley and stopped without turning and said, "The charter party clause in the Minsk contract when you have time." I read it last week. The force majeure definition excludes political action by the contracting state, which is legally standard, but the arbitration seat is Moscow, which creates a structural conflict. Silence. 3 seconds. "When did you read the Minsk contract?" she said. "The day after the folder landed in my system." She turned then, just enough that I could see the edge of her expression. That same not-quite smile. "I have a legal team of 7. They flagged the arbitration seat last Thursday." Last Thursday was 5 days after I had flagged it. The office she gave me was on the 37th floor, small, a window, a desk. Someone had stocked it with a French press and a brand of green tea from Jeju I had mentioned once in passing to Ina, her assistant, on the Almaty trip. It appeared on my desk the Monday after we returned. No note. The French press was Yan Seiwa's brand. Matte black. The expensive one. I made tea. I drank it. There are things that happen slowly and things that happen all at once. And the thing that was happening between us was the kind of slow thing that looks in retrospect like it had always been moving fast. She passed me problems and I solved them faster than her legal team, and she noted it without commenting. And I noticed her noticing. Her scent was in the corridor outside my office, sometimes in the evenings when she walked past without stopping. Pine resin and cold rain. My own tail would puff slightly before I even looked up. My body told me before my mind did. Inconvenient. Very unprofessional. The Minsk deal closed in December with the arbitration seat moved to Stockholm. We were building a case against a man named Gregor Vasson, the common denominator between 3 contracts. Elegant mechanism, invisible if you weren't reading the cross-reference chains. I sent Yan Seiwa the entity structures at 9:45 p.m. She replied in 4 minutes. My office. Now. She was at her desk, jacket on, desk lamp on, overhead off. The city was a field of light below. Her ears were angled forward, alert, intent. We went through the structure for 2 hours. "You've been building a case," I said. "I've been building a case for what?" "The 3rd time he does it, there's precedent." Almaty was the 3rd attempt. "You briefed your legal team Monday." Monday was 4 days after I found it on the plane. She looked at me steadily. Her thumb ran that small private circuit against her wrist again, and this time her tail mirrored it, a slow swish. "I was the room where you think," I said softly. "You are," she said. When the crisis came, it came as a voicemail in Russian, claiming my interpretation was fraudulent and a complaint had been filed with the board. I sent Yan Seiwa the audio file. No text, just the file. Her reply was 23 seconds. "My office now." Kim Tae-won, her general counsel, a huge, calm Norwegian forest cat, was already there. The complaint was filed 2 hours before the voicemail. The timing is the tell. A legitimate complaint waits for evidence. This was filed to generate a record that could be cited to challenge your standing in the Vasson case. Yen was standing at the window with her back to us, tail lashing once, twice, controlled anger. She turned. "Pull everything on Vasson's sole contacts. Every hospitality record, every registered contact at the board." I had the Almaty record complete by 2:15 in the morning. I sent it. Woke at 7 to a message from Yan Seiwa that said, "Clear and thorough. Thank you." And below it, a line sent at 2:40, "Go to sleep." She had been awake at 2:40 reading my record. The board complaint was dismissed 4 days later. Kim's response was described as definitive. The Vasson case closed in February. Court order, assets frozen, holding structure dissolved. Yan's handling was called methodical in 2 financial publications. The morning after those articles ran, I found a small package on my desk with no note. Inside, a trilingual commercial contract guide, Russian, Kazakh, and Korean, published by a small academic press in 1987. Out of print. One of only 400 copies. My grandfather had once referenced it as the book that made him understand the architecture of contract language. She had found it. We were claimed under the stars in April, in the garden of a house outside the city that belonged to her grandmother, a woman in her 80s, a snow-white Persian with eyes like jade who moved like time was hers to spend. The garden was early spring, cold grass, First blossoms on a plum tree 40 years old. The claiming wasn't announced. It was just hers and mine and the cold grass and the 40-year plum tree and her voice saying, "Kai, ask me with your words." And the bond when it's sealed was like the moment a cross-reference chain resolves. All the documents finally reading the same direction. The structure holding. Her grandmother blessed us from the doorway with a cup of tea she didn't drink. We came home in the early morning. The city was the color it goes just before dawn. Neither dark nor light. I had my head against her shoulder in the back of the car, and her thumb was moving against the inside of my wrist in that small private circuit, and her tail was curled securely around my ankle, and I thought about all the contracts I had read in this city. None of them had contained a clause for this. For the moment after the last liability resolves, and what remains is not obligation or protection, but just the morning and the person beside you and the fact of being seen. My phone lit up. A message from Yan Seiwa. Appendix B is ready when you are. I looked at the city. Bright, clear, September blue. Ready for anything. I replied, ready. She replied 3 seconds later. Good. I put down my phone and picked up Appendix B and got back to work. The light was very good.